This week, Lands' End Board of Directors fired their CEO. And this whole story is reminiscent of another high-profile firing that happened a couple of years ago, that one of Ron Johnson and J.C. Penney. Both these stories reinforce an issue that if you really want to change a company and change how a company operates, you got to worry about the culture and the doctrine within the company. Now let's talk about Lands' End for a minute. Gary Comer started the company in 1963 in Chicago, selling sailboat equipment, mail order. And then in 1978, he moved the company from Chicago to Dodgeville, Wisconsin, mainly to save costs, but also to take advantage of the work ethic of the people in Wisconsin. He wanted to build a no-frills company. And so he was famous during the time that he was the CEO of walking up and down the hallways in sweaters and jeans, getting to know everybody on a first-name basis. And he would often, his mantra was that you took care of the customers, you took care of the employees, and the profits would take care of themselves. So Gary Comer built this no-frills culture where the F word was fashion. Lands' End product is not fashion items. It's good, sturdy clothing. And the people who bought Lands' End clothes were looking for good, sturdy clothing. Now, this started to change in 2002. Mr. Comer sold the company to Sears. Now, Sears bought Lands' End because they wanted the product. It was a proven product mix, a good apparel line, and Sears management thought that by bringing that inside the stores, it would bring more customers. Now, Sears didn't make any changes in the way that Lands' End operated. Frankly, the company wasn't broken, and Sears had its own list of problems that it was trying to manage around. So the company continued, the management team continued the momentum that had been set. The culture didn't change. The company didn't move from Wisconsin, and the employees didn't change. And the innovation that the company did was mainly incremental improvement to the product line, maybe adding clothing and adding different articles, but still following the same mantra of good, sturdy clothing and shoes for people looking for good, sturdy clothing and shoes. And the management team really didn't turn over except through the normal process of people retiring and then promotion from within. And this promotion from within even further reinforced the culture of taking care of the customers and taking care of the people, and the profits would follow. Let's talk about Lands' End business model for a moment. What did Lands' End do? What was their business model? They made and sold sturdy clothing to customers that wanted sturdy clothing. It didn't need to be super fashionable. It needed to look nice. It needed to last more than just a season. It needed to last multiple seasons. And customers saw value in that. And they would actually pay more for that sturdy clothing than they would find in their local stores. These people in Dodgeville, and you have to understand, Dodgeville employees, they all worked in the same place and space. This is a town of less than 5,000 people. The same people who talked to the customers, they were working in the same space as the people who made decisions about what they were going to offer the customers. And they were working in the same space as some of the people who actually modeled for some of the catalogs. So you had this reoccurring feedback loop. This feedback loop that talking to the customers and taking care of the customers, they would have the conversations with the people who made the decision of what to carry, and the customers then would give more feedback to the customer service people. And this loop had gone on for some time. That built the culture. And you got to remember, Dodgeville's in the middle of nowhere, kind of. It's about 100 miles northwest of Chicago in the middle of farm country. And so you didn't have a lot of influence from the cultural centers of New York or LA as influence. And these people in Dodgeville, they were very much focused on taking care of their customers. They lived and breathed that mantra of you take care of the customer and you take care of the employees. The profits take care of themselves. And those folks understood that. The employees at Dodgeville were only part of the culture of the company. There was an incredible amount of repeat business that Lands' End did with their customers, and they created long-term relationships with those customers. Every time you made a purchase, you had new catalogs that showed up. So there was a reinforcing loop there. The customer's feedback coming back would drive more of that reinforcing loop. And so it was a virtuous loop. Now let me talk a little bit about my own personal experience with this. I went into my closet today and looked at my dress shirts. And over half of the dress shirts that I have are Lands' End dress shirts. In fact, they're all cotton, Oxford, button down, 17.5-inch neck, 34-inch sleeve. Very consistent. And I've been buying those shirts for over 10 years. Now, most of them are blue and white, but I have some other colors mixed in too. I took 12 of those shirts and hung them up next to each other and looked at them. It was 10 years worth of shirts hanging there as examples. All the same size. And you know what? They all look the same. Yes, some of them were older and a little bit more worn and a little bit more faded than the new ones, but the cut was the same. The fit was the same. The texture was the same. The shirt was the same. And I'm not an unusual customer. This is the same reason why a lot of corporations turn to Lands' End to buy their imprinted wear, the embroidered company shirts. So these customers, these loyal customers, really became part of this virtuous loop. They became part of the culture of the organization. They actually dictated or had an important drive into the doctrine of the company. The customers drove the doctrine just as much as the employees did.